So today we're going to be focusing on making these beautiful grilled summer chicken kebabs with a really vibrant and fresh slaw. So right here, what we have, I marinated my chicken overnight just so it gets all of those beautiful flavors kind of infused into the protein that I'm using, which is chicken thighs today. And I love chicken thighs. They're really wonderful because they sort of have a natural fat content that can keep them super moist, especially for those high temperature cooking preparations like grilling, like sauteing, even stir frying. And the ingredients that I have in this beautiful marinade smell so good. I've got some lemon zest. I've got some fresh parsley. You can see all those little green specks in there. I also have garlic powder, a little olive oil, and then finally the chicken thighs. So they're the big feature of our protein for today. And I'm going to get these going on my grill pan really fast. You can do this absolutely on an outdoor grill if you have one. One thing that I will note, and that Stacey is probably going to mention a little bit, is trying to keep your grill at a sort of medium high heat. What's good about that is that it's going to allow you to get some of those really nice caramelization, those little char lines without it going too far. And another really good note too on your skewers. If you're using metal skewers like I have here, you don't really need to do any preparation. But if you're using wooden skewers like bamboo or any type of wood, you want to try to soak them for about an hour before you put your protein on them. That's going to keep them from charring, especially on top of your grill, and it will allow some of those beautiful flavors to kind of infuse through the chicken too. So I'm going to pass it over to Stacey while I get some of these kebabs going on the grill.
Thank you, Martina. Chef Martina, I can't wait to smell it virtually. It sounds so wonderful. So, a couple things to keep in mind, as Chef Martina had mentioned, when you're grilling, there is an oxidative reaction that can occur between the macronutrients in the meat and the heat that is created from the grill. So, this concern is that when we consume this meat, we're ingesting these molecules that can be created and ultimately possibly damage some of our cells and our tissues and increase our total toxic load, which is not ideal. But there is a benefit to using a marinade, and that is because it contains a healthy oil, herbs and spices, and citrus. And it's because these ingredients contain a nutrient called antioxidants. And these are molecules that actually counteract or reduce these harmful molecules that I was mentioning that can be formed at high temperatures. So I'm going to share with you some of the nutrients in each of the ingredients that in the marinade that provide these antioxidant protection. In your olive oil, you have unique polyphenols, you have your monounsaturated fatty acids, anti-inflammatory, but also the oils actually coat the protein. So there's another layer of protection against the charring that was mentioned. The garlic powder has a compound called organosulfur, which when it is mixed with oils as well as citrus, it enhances the antioxidant compound. And then the fresh parsley. There's tons of phytonutrients in these fresh herbs, along with vitamin C and zinc, which are great nutrients that are antioxidants. And then the lemon zest. The lemon zest comes from the peel of the lemon. And in that peel, there's a phytonutrient called limonene. That, along with vitamin P, which is also known as bioflavonoids, and vitamin C, is extra packed with these antioxidants to help get all of the other nutrients into your body for optimal absorption without the damaging effects of the free radicals, which you will learn more about in the nutrition consultant course. And ideally, when you're creating these wonderful marinades to protect your nutrients, homemade marinades are going to be best because you're using all natural whole ingredients. You're reducing the amount of sugar, sodium, as well as preservatives that we find a lot in store-bought brands. So using all of these wonderful nutrients give you that extra antioxidant protection along with allowing you to absorb all of the other nutrients that are provided by the chicken breast. All right, that's our
Wonderful.
marinade.
Thank you, Stacey. All right, so you can see I'm starting to pull together some of the prep. Now, prep, the other term for this that we use is called mise en place, which is the French term for everything in its place. You can see that I have some of my ingredients already ready to go. They're already fully mise en place, meaning that I'm ready to cook with them. I'm going to use them right away. I did, however, leave a couple of things whole so I can show you some fun, nice skills techniques. But let's go ahead and get some of these ingredients into our main bowl here, where we're going to mix up this beautiful and vibrant slaw to go with our grilled chicken. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about it. It's sitting on my grill pan. So we're going to use some lovely shredded cabbage. Now, I'm using a green cabbage. That's what I was able to get at my farmer's market, but you could use a red cabbage, whatever color you have. We're going to put about a cup of that shredded cabbage in. Okay. We're also going to put in some beautiful bell peppers. You can use whatever color you like, green, yellow, orange, or red. Excellent. Nice little julienne on those, a nice little fine strip cut. Then the last two ingredients that I already have prepped, I've got some nice chopped up cilantro, beautiful. And one little note, I am unfortunately one of the people that thinks that cilantro tastes like soap. It's such a bummer. So if you happen to be one of those people as well, you could also just increase the amount of the other herbs, the basil and the parsley, and leave that cilantro out. Okay. All right, so then the other ingredients that I still need to work with are my basil leaves and then also some carrots. So for the basil, I'm going to do what we call a chiffonade cut. And what's really lovely about this is it's super fancy. It's a really great way to use those herbs and get a really beautiful kind of confetti-like texture out of them. So I'm going to do a little bit of a close-up here. And I have maybe about 4 or 5 leaves stacked in my basil. I'm going to kind of use the biggest one, the largest one on the bottom. And then I'm going to use my hands to roll them up almost into a little burrito shape, almost like a little cigar. Use my guide hand, so not the hand I'm cutting with, but my other hand to get a really good curl. So I'm protecting my fingertips and then holding on to that little bundle of basil. Then I'm going to grab my knife. I'm going to use a pinch grip. So choking up on the blade itself with my thumb and my forefinger. And then my back 3 fingers are going to be kind of grabbing the back handle. Okay. This gives me really good side to side stability and it gives me a lot more control. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut this cute little roll of basil into the chiffonade, which just is like a ribbon. So using my guide hand to guide my knife down, and doing this nice rocking motion where my knife is actually never fully leaving the cutting board. I'm just getting this good rocking motion. Excellent. And then we have this lovely chiffonade basil. Like to use something like a bench scraper to scrape up everything so we're not dulling our beautifully sharp knives, which we're always trying to keep as sharp as possible. And then I'm going to start doing the carrot. So the carrot for this one, I'm going to cut in what we call the Asian julienne. And I love that cut again because it's so nice and fine. It works beautifully for things like salads, really nice in wraps or rolls as well. And so I'm going to show you, it's just basically a bias cut. And what bias means is cutting at a diagonal angle. So I'm going to have my carrot going across my cutting board. And then I'm going to keep my knife in the same angle so that I get a nice long diagonal, about 2 to 3 inches long. Okay. So holding with my guide hand, again, keeping that nice curl and cutting into about an 1/8 of an inch slice. Okay. And while I keep working on my Asian julienne, I'm going to pass it back to Stacey to talk a little bit about some of these gorgeous slaw ingredients.
Thank you, Chef Martina. Oh, I love watching you cut vegetables. It's so awesome. It's so appetizing. It's part of getting our whole digestive system going. We'll talk a bit more about that. So, cabbage. Cabbage is the king of the cruciferous family. Some people are familiar with this family, that it includes broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, and this has phytonutrients that are super important for liver detoxification. It's got some of those antioxidants that I mentioned earlier, and very, very high on the list for cancer prevention. There is also a amino acid in cabbage called glutamine. And glutamine is one of the amino acids that helps keep your GI tract nice and healthy. So it helps rebuild this tissue that is optimal for digestion. Cabbage also contains many different vitamins and minerals, vitamin C being one of them, as well as excuse me, magnesium and calcium, uh, folate, B6, and manganese. Now, when we're talking about peppers, red bell peppers are sweeter. They're actually the green pepper that was ripened on the vine, and they are a summer vegetable. So this is a very seasonal vegetable that you can use in this slaw. They are the most nutrient dense of all of the peppers. They have, again, vitamin C, but they also have a phytonutrient called lycopene. And lycopene is very beneficial for heart disease. Now, this is a vegetable that is part of the nightshade family, and individuals that have sensitivities to a component within this family have to avoid this vegetable. So if you do have to avoid this, you can definitely put in more carrots, or maybe you'll throw in some snap peas or green beans. Keep it nice and crisp and colorful. Now, the carrots, we all know carrots, right? They're a great medicinal vegetable. They're great for our vision. They help with vitamin A. They're also a great source of fiber. And believe it or not, they're a great source of antioxidants. So Chef Martina talked about some wonderful herbs and spices. And these wonderful herbs and spices we refer to often in Bowman College as booster foods. These are things that you can add to your dishes to give you extra energy as well as extra nutrients. Cilantro. How many knew that cilantro came from the leaves of the coriander plant? Okay, coriander seeds, most people are familiar with those. But these leaves have benefits for detoxification. They help with digestive enzyme production, circulation. They help with our brain and our bones. Oh, and surprise, they're an antioxidant. Okay. The other thing that we want to look at is parsley. Parsley has a lot of antioxidant benefits, like I had mentioned before, but it's also a great source of minerals and folic acid. And then basil. Basil, there are 60 plus varieties. We are most familiar with the sweet basil, right? It's part of the mint family. It is used in a lot of things other than just food. It's used in soaps. A lot of times you'll see basil soaps. It is used in cordials, cosmetics, perfumes. So it is very versatile. It is beneficial for digestion. It's a sedative for headaches and circulation, and it's an antibacterial. So those are some of the wonderful things that she has already shown to you. And she's going to go into the dressing here, and I will inform you about some of the wonderful ingredients that are in this dressing.
Thank you so much, Stacey. And I had no idea that basil was actually a part of a mint family. So thanks for that. The more you know. How cool is that? All right, so let's talk a little bit about the dressing for this slaw. Again, it's all about really bright and vibrant ingredients, right? The freshness, the lightness that you kind of crave in those summer months when it starts getting a little bit hot outside. So, garlic. And I know in the recipe I say 1 to 2 cloves of garlic, but measure this with your heart. If you like garlic, add more. If you're not as fond, add less. I am extremely fond of garlic, so I did 2 huge cloves of it. I love that flavor. So beautiful. All right, next we're going to add in a little bit of Dijon mustard. Now, this is going to give us some nice tang, some really beautiful sort of depth of flavor in our dressing. It's also going to help emulsify the liquid ingredients with the fats in our dressing. It's going to kind of hold it together so it keeps this really nice emulsified thickness. We're going to add just a touch of honey for a little bit of sweetness. I love that. Beautiful local raw honey. I've got some lemon juice here, a little bit of fresh orange juice, and then our seasonings. All we're going to do here, because we have so much flavor from our fresh herbs that are already in the slaw, the garlic and the zests, we're just going to do a little bit of salt and pepper. And then finally, we're going to add in our oil. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up all of these beautiful sort of liquid ingredients. I'm going to whisk them all up really nicely so that they're well incorporated. And then I'm going to slowly, slowly drizzle in my olive oil. This is going to, again, help me with that emulsification. I'm going to get a really nice thick dressing that's going to cling to and coat all of my cabbage and my vegetables. And the key here is to do a really slow drizzle. You can see how nice and thick it's getting. It's kind of holding its shape a little bit better. That's with that slow drizzling technique, that constant whisking, and then also that Dijon mustard that's going to help it kind of hold together and stabilize. So while I dress this up and mix it, I'm going to pass it back to Stacey to talk about these beautiful and tasty ingredients in the dressing.
Thank you, Chef Martina. My mouth is watering. Down here in Southern Florida, it's the afternoon, it's lunchtime, and I am getting so hungry. Oh, so some of the wonderful benefits, citrus. So she used a lot of citrus. I mentioned a little bit about the antioxidant properties in the lemon zest earlier, but the vitamin C. Vitamin C is such an important nutrient. It's not just an antioxidant, it is essential for the health of our connective tissue throughout our body. So your skin, your gums, the blood vessels, the tendons throughout your body, and even the things that surround your organs. It also helps to support your adrenal glands and your immune system. So if you can get tons of sources, which this recipe has of vitamin C, you are good to go. Now, garlic. I love that Chef Martina loves adding a lot of garlic. It's the oldest cultivated plant in the world, but it has tons of medicinal properties. It helps with cardiovascular disease. It is antimicrobial, so it helps with infections. It also decreases the growth of cancer cells. So, hey, let's get some more of that garlic in. It's okay. We can definitely put in some different mints, herbs, if it affects your breath. Put in the garlic, load it up. Extra virgin olive oil, great antioxidant. Best to buy it in a dark glass bottle and use medium to cold temperatures. Oh, look at her. She's already testing everything. And then one last thing I want to share with you about honey. Honey is nourishment for bees. A bee will only make 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey its entire life. So that's why bees are busy, right? Because they've got to make all of this wonderful nutrient. And if you buy it raw and unrefined, it will keep the phytonutrients that come from the flowers that the bees are collecting. And it has tons of B vitamins, minerals, flavonoids. Oh, and guess what? It's an antioxidant. So honey is a great way to, or a great option to use as a sweetener versus the processed white sugar, table sugar that we see in the standard American diet. So using all of these wonderful ingredients, not only are you going to get these wonderful flavors versus the salt and sugar flavor that a lot of processed foods have, we're getting all of these health benefits. So I'm going to pass it back down to Chef Martina.
Wonderful. Well, so you might have seen me. I was checking the temperature of my chicken thighs, and it's really quick. This whole meal comes together literally in the amount of time that we've been here with you all. Maybe a little bit extra for making that marinade, letting that chicken get all that beautiful flavor. But in this time, because I've done these nice little small pieces of chicken, I haven't stretched them out or smushed them together so that they're keeping a really nice, even shape. They're going to cook really evenly. And then ultimately, they're actually going to cook faster because they're these nice little 2-inch pieces. So now it's time to plate. Stacey caught me tasting my slaw a little bit. This is so important, right? It's all about flavor balancing. And that's one of the things that you'll learn in the chef program too. Tasting your food as you go, making sure you're adding enough salt, enough acid to balance all those beautiful flavors. So my slaw, it tastes pretty good as it is. I'm actually not going to do any additional salt and not adding any more sweetener. And what's great about this slaw is that it's going to be good right now. No doubt about that. Delicious. But it will actually get even better as it sits for an hour, 2 hours, even a whole day, because all of those flavors are going to marry and meld. So I'm going to go ahead and just plate up a little bit really fast. Do a nice good portion of slaw again to get all of those beneficial nutrients that Stacey was mentioning. And then we can go ahead and put our grilled chicken pieces just right on the side. Now, this makes a pretty hefty portion for about 2 people. You can see how vibrant that is, how beautiful. And if you happen to have any other dressing that's kind of sitting at the bottom of the bowl, especially if you've let it sit for a couple hours, you can always drizzle that over the top. Mm. There we have it. Beautiful grilled chicken kebabs with our nice and vibrant slaw. Any last parting things you want to mention, Stacey, or should we pass it back to
I
Michelle?
I would love to because I will tell you, my mouth is watering just looking at this beautiful dish. Look at all of the colors. I can again virtually smell all of the wonderful herbs and spices in the chicken. And this is actually called the cephalic phase. This is the first step to digestion. When you see food, when you smell food, notice your mouth starts watering, your stomach starts growling. Well, that is your digestive juices starting to flow, getting ready to break down all of these foods so your body can absorb all of the wonderful nutrients that I discussed and get all of the wonderful health benefits from this very simple, quick, and easy dish that you can now bring to your next summer barbecue.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us